we are going to continue with what we started yesterday, multi-step equations. The whole first page is just extra practice with those. Okay, so go grab a calculator if you need one. If you haven't yet. Mm-hmm. Okay, I can help you at the end of class. Remind me, Asia, okay? All right. So, couple things. We are going to look at some more challenging multi-step equations. Remember, there's a few things we need to keep in mind when we solve equations. First, you need to do, that's when we have fractions, when we're dividing fractions. We need to do opposite. Good, yep, opposite operations. We need to get the variable by itself. And we need to make sure we distribute. Yep, and combine like terms when necessary. Remember, we distribute when we have a number outside of our parentheses. Okay. So we are going to try out some equations. You might have seen ones that look like this on your homework, so this should be helpful. Number one, we have x over 3 plus 4 equals 6. So remember, we are trying to get our variable x all by itself, exactly. So if you take a look on the left-hand side, I see a couple different things. I see divided by 3. Do you guys see that? And I see a plus 4. Okay. The question is, which one do you get rid of first, and how do you get rid of it? Asia. Right. We are going to now, again, think about your two-column method, right, that we talked about. If you use your two-column method here, the x over 3, doesn't that have a variable in it? A letter, right? So do we want to move our letter if it's on the left? No, leave it there. Leave your x over 3 exactly where it is. But you want to move your 4, because remember, we want x's on the left and numbers on the right. Exactly. So we're going to move our 4 over, and when we move it over, it's going to switch from a positive to a negative. And then the 6 is already on the number side, right? So is that good where it is? It is. It is good where it is. We can leave it there. Okay. So now, do we have any like terms we can combine? Yeah, which ones? Negative 4 and 6. So what is negative 4 plus 6? Think of it this way. Well, think of it this way. One's adding, one's subtracting. What's 6 minus 4? 2, right? And do you have more positives or more negatives? Positives, so it'll be a positive 2. You might have done something weird and multiplied. So x over 3 equals 2. And then how do you think we're going to get rid of this 3 now? Right, we're currently dividing, so we're going to multiply. So multiply both sides by 3. The 3's on the left will cancel, and 2 times 3 is 6. Exactly. Good, Mason. Igor, what's our first step with number 2? Okay, so yeah, Jaden wants to add our 3 over, so you could either just add 3 or do your 2 columns, right? If you do your 2 columns, drop down your x over negative 4 equals, move your 3 over, make it positive, leave your 5 where it is. Lynn, what was 3 plus 5? You did. 8. That's okay. All right, so then you should end up with x over negative 4 equals 8. This is regardless of what strategy you use. Then Bailey, what should I do to both sides? Well, right now it's being divided. What's the opposite of dividing? Not subtracting. You told it to me before. Multiplication. Good. Multiply both sides by -4. Good. And then you're going to get x equals -32. He just forgot his negative sign. Okay, good. Any questions on that? I feel like we'll probably need some more help with that later. Okay. Take a look at number 3. What looks different about number 3? The whole thing is a fraction, right? There was a fraction in the first one, but wasn't there kind of a number off to the side? This time there's not. So this one is a little weird because the whole thing is a fraction. So if you look, is there anything I can move over yet? Because the whole thing's a fraction, right? If I do my 2-column method, I can't move anything. It's all stuck in that fraction, right? So if everything is stuck in this fraction, well, what should we maybe try to get rid of? The fraction. Okay. Now fractions are just division, right? So doesn't this mean that we're dividing by 5? No? Don't I see, isn't there a division bar, a fraction bar? Isn't there a 5 on the bottom? You do have to do the opposite. Mason, we cannot move the 6 over yet because it's really tempting with this to move the 6 to the other side. Jaden, please stop. Sit straight, sit forward. You're driving me bananas. Thank you. So with this, if you try to move the 6 over, the 6 is stuck at the top of this fraction. We can't move it. Okay, it's at the top. So we want to get rid of the fraction. What's the opposite of dividing? Multiplication. We're going to multiply. Ooh, but not in highlighter. We're going to multiply both sides by 5. Okay. Sorry. So we're going to cancel out our 5s there. And now we just have h plus 6 equals 10. Okay. Now what can we do, Asia? Sure, you can subtract 6 on both sides, or you can use your 2-column method, whatever you prefer. So we could subtract 6 on the left, subtract 6 on the right, and h would equal 4. Good. That's okay. That's why we're doing it now, right? Okay, so we're going to try it one more time because, again, I know these ones are a little trickier. So take a look at number 4. You have d minus 8 over 2 equals 12. Now, it's tempting to maybe try to move the 8 over, right? But isn't the 8 in the fraction? The 8's not in the fraction? Well, d minus 8 is in the fraction, right? The whole thing is a fraction. Yes, exactly. We're going to multiply by 2. We got to get rid of the fraction, right? Everything's stuck in it. We want to get rid of it by doing the opposite of dividing by 2, which is multiplying by 2. Good, Alex. Bailey, you paying attention? You look like you're zoning out. All right, so cancel out your 2's over there. You'll get d minus 8 equals, what's 2 times 12? 24. Good. Okay. Now we're almost done. We need to just get our variable all by itself, which means we need to get rid of that -8, right? How would you get rid of that -8? You could add 8 to both sides. Or move your 8 over and make it positive, however you prefer to think about it. Yeah, and d would equal 32. Good. Good. Are we okay? People at home, are we okay with that? Okay, cool. All right. Guys, focus. Number 5. All right. Number 5, we got -2, and then in parentheses, 4g minus 3 equals 30. If you wanted to do 2 columns, could you yet? Dallas, I see you shaking your head no. Why do you say no? Right, there's parentheses there, right? Isn't it stuck in your parentheses? How could we get rid of our parentheses? Okay, what do we need to do with that -2? Technically, you cannot yet because it is stuck on that parenthesis. I mean, you could move it as you'd have to divide it. It gets tricky and people tend to get that wrong. So what I would do instead, anytime you see a number outside of parentheses, what are you going to do with it? Distribute it. You're going to multiply. So we're going to distribute our 2 to everything in our parentheses. What? I don't know what you're even saying, bud. What kind of an 8? -8. So -2 times 4g is -8g. Now distribute to your 3. Corey, -2 times -3 is? 6. Good. So plus 6 equals 30. Now could you do your 2 columns if you wanted to? Yeah. Sure. If you don't want to do 2 columns, then don't. Just make sure you get the same answer at the end. So 2 columns, Dallas, does -8g stay or go? It stays. It's on the correct side. Jaden, does 6 stay or go? It goes bye-bye, and it turns from a positive to a negative. So we're going to move it over, make it negative. Alex, is the 30 good where it is, or does it need to move? Where should it move to? Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but we're technically keeping it on that right side, right? Yeah, you just want to drop it down next to the 6. Good. Now let's combine our like terms. We still have -8g on the left. Lynn, what's -6 plus 30? It would be 24. Good. And now we have -8 times g equals 24, right? So Bailey, what's the opposite of multiplying? Division. So we're going to divide both sides by -8. No, that'd be if it was the other way around, actually. First of all, a positive divided by a negative is a? And positive divided by a negative is a negative. And then 24 divided by 8 is 3. That's okay. There's normally more than one good way to do it, Dallas. That's okay. Bailey, you had that right. You just had it flipped upside down. Okay? All right. Number 5 or? Oh yeah, I know. I know they're not going to get any easier, really. All right. Number 6. I see parentheses. Jake Sanders, what should I do when I have a number outside of my parentheses? Yeah, we're going to multiply. We're going to do 4 times x. And Jake, what would I write for 4 times x? 4x, good. Hannah, what should I do next? Good, which is? 20, good. Equals 32. Now I can do my 2 columns if I want. Corey, should 4x stay or go? Well, do we want our, what do we want on the left? We want numbers or letters? Letters. So does 4x have a letter? So it should stay there. Does that make sense? Okay. So leave your 4x where it is. Dallas, what about the 20? Yeah, it's going to move over and become a negative. And then the 32 was already on our number side, so that's good where it is. So 4x equals, Jane, you got this written down? Mm-hmm. You literally sit right in front of me. I know if you're writing it down or not. Negative 20 plus 32 is going to give us, that would be if they were both positive. Yeah, one's negative, so you subtract. This would be 12. And then Mason, what are we going to do to both sides? The 20 should be negative. You do, that's why I'm telling you guys to use your calculator. Yeah, so when one of them is negative and one is positive, right, and you're adding and subtracting, Asia, treat it as subtraction. What's 32 minus 12, minus 20? Yeah, you had the wrong sign, that's all. Nick, what should we do with the 4? Yep, divide both sides by 4. And x equals 3. Good. Now this one, I actually, yeah, no, we'll look at it because we need to look at it for our homework. What's kind of weird about number 7? It's reversed. But if we do our 2-column method, it's okay, right? We're going to reorganize it in a way that makes sense to us. So what do we have to do, though, before we can do our 2-column method, Jaden? We need to distribute first. So let's just drop down what we're not going to mess with yet. We're not messing with this 27 yet. Drop it down. We're not messing with this 3a. Drop it down. So now we need to distribute our negative 3. So help me distribute. Owen, what is negative 6? I'm sorry, what is negative 3 times 6 going to give me? That would be if we were multiplying by 4. This is negative 3 times 6. 18, that's okay. And we have one negative and one positive, so that's going to be negative 18. Good. And then negative 3 times negative 2a. Aiden, what do you think we're going to get for that? What's a negative times a negative? Positive. Good. Yeah, a negative times a negative is a positive. And then we're going to have 3 times 2a. Jake Newcomb, what's 3 times 2a going to give us? No, Jake. How about Annalise? What's 3 times 2a going to give us? 6a. Good. Good. Okay. So now we've distributed. Are we ready for our 2 columns? Yes. Do you have to do the 2 columns if you were good at it the original way? No. It's up to you. But I would say 90% of you probably should be doing the 2-column method. Okay. So we want letters, right? Variables on the left, numbers on the right. So 27, is 27 a variable or a number? It's a number. So is it good or does it need to move? It needs to move, and when it moves, it's going to switch from a positive to a negative. So my 27 is moving. 3a, now we're on our number side. Does 3a belong on our number side? No. Move it, switch it from a positive to a negative 3a. Okay. Negative 18, is it good on the number side or should it move? It's going to stay exactly where it is. And then 6a, is that good on the number side or does it need to move? Needs to move and switch from a positive to a negative. Now I got all my like terms together and we're going to combine. Now I see some subtracting negatives. Please, guys, don't guess. Use your calculator if you're not sure. What is negative 3a minus 6a going to give us? Negative 9a. Now, can you plug the a into your calculator? No, but can you just do negative 3 minus 6 in your calculator? Yes. So that's negative 9a equals, and then negative 27 minus 18 is going to give us negative 45. Very good. All right, now final step. That's okay. You should still get to this as your final step, regardless of how you did it. So we want to now finish this up and get a all by itself. What should we do with that negative 9, Dallas? It is being multiplied. Opposite is divide both sides by negative 9. Dallas, what's a negative times, or what's a negative divided by a negative? A positive. And yes, 45 divided by 9 is 5. All right, so number 7, last one of these, and then we'll take a little break. So we got 5h plus 2, and then times 11 minus h. So, and then equals negative 5. So what should we do first, Alex, before we can do our 2-column method? We're going to distribute the 2, right? Okay, so let's do that. We're going to drop down our 5h because we're not doing anything with it yet. Bailey, help me distribute this first part. What's 2 times 11? 22. Now distribute your 2 to your negative h. Lynn, what's 2 times negative h? Oops. Yes, negative 2h, good. Equals, and then drop down your negative 5. Now let's get our 2 columns. We want our variables on the left, our numbers on the right. So, Owen, should the 5h stay or go? Stay. It is going to stay. It has a letter on it. Nick, should the 22 stay or go? It's going to go and become a what? Negative. Good. Move that 22 over. Make it negative. Mason, what about that negative 2h? Yep, it is going to stay, so that's negative 2h will stay. And then Jesse, what about that negative 5? Is it good where it is on the right, or do we need to move it somewhere? Yeah, it is going to stay. Very good. Let's combine some like terms. Jake Sanders, what's 5h minus 2h? 3h, good. Hannah, what's negative 22 minus 5? Yep, negative 27, good. And then last step, Annalise, what should we do with that 3? Yep, divide both sides by 3, good. Oh, it's turned off. Good, and then let's divide that. Ladies and gentlemen, a negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 27 divided by 3 is going to give us negative 9. Very good. Good. Okay. Let's take 5, and at 9:02 we're going to keep going on the back, okay? And then we'll have the rest of the time for our homework. So people at home, take 5 back at 9:02. So we are on to the next page, multi-step word problems. Yes, we do. It's on your test, so yes. So, multi-step word problems, a little bit of review of what we need to do. We like to annotate our problems, right? Which means we circle our numbers, box our math action words, underline our question. We need to make sure we always define a variable. We need to write an equation. We gotta solve it, and we gotta write our answer in context. That means with proper units or in a sentence, depending on what we are asked. People at home, you can hear me and everything, right? Yeah, okay, good. All right, so got a word problem here. Your school's drama club charges $4 per person for admission to a play. The club borrowed $400 to pay for costumes and props. After paying back the loan, the drama club has a profit of $100. How many people attended the play? So let's go through. Let's circle our important numbers first, okay? So Bailey, where do you see an important number in this problem? Yep. Yep, $4. Asia, where else? $400. Good. Lynn, where else? $100. Okay, good. Now we need some math action words. So remember that, like, those are words that tell us to add, subtract, multiply, divide. Where do you see one, Jaden? Is. Where do you see is? Okay, yeah, I don't see an is. Asia? Per person. Asia, do you remember what per means in math? It means multiply. If you see the word per, it means multiply. Okay, so multiply. Bailey, you had your hand up? Okay, yeah, borrow, because if you borrow something, don't you owe it back to someone? It's like a loan. So if you're borrowing money, is that actually your money?
Yeah.
It's not your money. Well, it's your money for a little bit, but then you have to give it back. If you have to give it back, do you think that would be adding or subtracting? It'd be subtracting. Very good. Right? Because it's a loan. Very, very good. And then another word here, it's not really a math action word, but it's an important thing to point out, is profit. Isn't profit how much they ended up with at the end of the day? If that's their profit, Jaden, pick up a pencil. Stop touching all my wires, okay? If that's their profit, that's what your equation should equal. That's what they ended up making, okay? So, and then we're being asked how many people attended the play. So let's define our variable. We're trying to find out what? How many people attended the play? So what letter would you like to use?
Q.
Say P. I don't know. None of us were sure. P equals number of people. So, focus. So now let's write an equation. P is going to be number of people. So first of all, I kind of like to start with the end of my problems. We know that they made $100 in profit, right? So we're gonna do this as equals 100. Now, where did that $100 come from? Well, first of all, they sold some tickets, right? And they borrowed some money. So we have to figure out how to incorporate both of those things. Asia told us that per means multiply, right? So up at the top here, you can see $4 per person. That means 4 times the number of people. And didn't we say the number of people is going to be P? So you can write that first part as 4P, or you could put a time sign if you want. And then we borrowed some money. So whatever money we made from tickets, we had to pay back $400, right? So we need to then subtract 400. Good. And that is our equation, and that is part of our answer. If you remember from the quiz, you had to plug part of that in. So now let's solve. I still got to go through and look at them. So let's go through and solve. What are we going to do first to solve this? We want to solve for P. Alex? We can't divide yet, but we will divide second. What do we have to do before we divide? That'll be our final answer. What should we do with that subtracting 400? How do you get rid of subtracting? Addition. We're going to add 400. Yes, you can. So 4P equals 500. And then what are you going to do with that 4? Now you're going to divide. That's why I'm looking at you, because you said divide before. Okay, that's okay. So now you're going to divide by 4. What's P divided by, or I'm sorry, what's 500 divided by 4? 125 what? People. So that is our other part of our answer. Good. Okay. All right. We got that copied down? Okay. Lynn and Jaden, we're doing a lot of extra talking and it's very distracting. And if it's distracting me, probably really distracting everyone else. Okay. All right, number 2, your cell phone company charges you a $50 fee and an additional $2 a minute. Write an equation. This was like back in the day when you got charged for stuff like that. So write an equation that represents your monthly phone bill. If your phone bill costs $120, how many minutes did you talk? So let's go through, let's look for some important numbers. Corey, what are some important numbers in my problem? $50. Lynn, what's another important number? 102. Dallas, what's another important number? 2. Jaden, do you see any math action words? That would be our question. How many minutes, right? Asia? Okay, yeah, good. Additional means add. Do you see any else, Asia? Fee? Yeah, sure. Fee. What happens if you're paying for something? What happens with a fee? Well, so a fee is something you have to pay, right? So if we're talking about your total monthly bill, is a fee, you have to pay that. So that's going to be added to your bill. Okay. Right. But you gotta think of it in context of the problem. The other one we were paying back a loan. This time we're talking about our total monthly bill, so fees are added in. So now let's first define our variable. We're trying to figure out how many minutes we talked, right? So what would maybe be a good variable? Sure, M. We're gonna do M equals number of minutes. Good. Now, our phone bill costs $102, right? Isn't that our total bill? So what do you think our equation is going to end up being? Or what our equation is going to end up equaling? Dallas? 102, because that's our total bill, right? That's our cost. So our bill is going to equal 102. We just have to now figure out what it's made up of, okay? Now our bill has a fee, and you have to pay $2 a minute, right? Okay. Now, where I want to start with this is that $2 a minute. You have an idea, Lynn? Sure. What do you think? That would work. Yeah, you know you have to do a $50 fee, right? That's going to get added to your bill. So let's do 50 plus, because we got to pay our fee, plus $2 a minute. And how did you say we should write $2 a minute? 2x or 2m, because it's like per, right? It doesn't say per, but you're charged $2 per minute. So 2 and then whatever variable you use. Good. You can always use x, Lynn, just make sure that you define it, okay? So that's one answer. Next answer here. Yep. Is we now need to solve this. So we got to get m all by itself. You can either use your opposite operations or do your 2-column method. Do you guys want to try this one with 2-column method? Do you like that better? Okay. So I'm going to put my column. So remember, variables stay on the left, numbers go on the right. Is 50 going to stay or go? It's going to go and become negative, right? 2m, is it going to stay or go? It's going to stay. And now we're on the number side. Would 102 stay on the number side or go? It's going to stay. So plus 102. Now let's simplify. I'm going to drop my 2m down. What is negative 50 plus 102? Do it in your calculator, don't guess. It is 52, yes. Yes, don't guess, right? Plug it into your calculator. Use your little negative sign. That's fine, that means the same thing. Yeah. All right, good. And then final step, how do you get rid of that 2? Asia? We're going to divide by 2. And yes, Jaden, it is 26 what? Minutes. Good. There's no word problems on your homework, but we're practicing this because it'll come up again on the test. Yep. It'll be the last one we do, and then we're done. And then you get homework time. Yep. Yeah, and I can help you guys. All right. Last one, guys. Number 3. You have 96 feet of fencing to enclose a rectangular pen for your dog. To provide sufficient running space for your dog to exercise, the pen should be 3 times as long as it is wide. Find the dimensions of the pen. So let's first identify some important numbers. Annalise, what's an important number in our problem? 96. Yeah, 96 feet. What else? Hannah. It's written out in letters, but it's still technically a number. Yep. Yeah, just the 3 part. Yeah, because the times will be a math action word. Good. So now let's look for our math action words. Yeah, times means we're going to multiply. Yeah, and is means equals. Good. And the question is to find the dimensions. Now, the dimensions, that's plural, right? There's 2 of them. If you're dealing with a rectangle, anyone know what we call the sides of a rectangle, like dimension-wise? No, that's the inside. Perimeter is all the way around. Yeah, we are going to deal with perimeter. If I gave you a rectangle and I was like, what do you call that thing along the bottom? The length and then the width. So we got to find both. I'm going to put O. And I always like to do a little cursive-y swirly L, or else it just looks like a line. L is going to be my length, and W is going to be my width. Sure, you can do a capital if you want. All right, so now, don't worry though, we don't have to use both variables right now, okay? Because if you look at your problem, doesn't it say the pen should be 3 times as long as it is wide? So what we're going to do is do everything in terms of the width. So here's what I like you guys to draw yourself a little visual. Draw yourself a rectangle over here. Okay. We have our length, that's the longer side, and then our width, that's the shorter side. It says the pen should be 3 times as long as it is wide. What that means in this problem, guys, the width is just the width. We're going to label it W. We don't know anything about it. But we know that the length is 3 times it, don't we? How would you write 3 times W? Like, what would I write down? 3W. So 3W, 3W. Okay. Now I want to enclose this area. If we're enclosing the area, right, or I'm enclosing the shape, is that area or perimeter? It's perimeter. It's all the way around, right? If you're putting a fence, you're just putting it around, right? So that's perimeter. How do you find the perimeter of a shape? Just that would be length times width times height would actually be volume. No, so you don't actually have to multiply anything. We're just going to add up all of our sides. Okay? So how many sides does a rectangle have? 4. So how many sides do you think you're going to have to add together? 4. So we're going to give ourselves a little fill in the blank. We're going to have 1 plus another plus another plus another, because you want to add up your 4 sides. So write this down. Write this down. Equals. Now, how much fencing do we have? 96 feet. So what do you think our equation is going to equal? 96 feet. That's how much we have. Okay. Now, we have 6 little blanks here, don't we? Or not 6, we have 4 little blanks here. Don't we have 4 different sides we could fill them in with? Yeah. So I'm going to take those and fill those in my blanks. It doesn't matter what order you go in. I'm just going to go around the side. So W plus 3W. I'm just going my way around. W, 3W. What should I plug in next? W and then 3W. So now I can just combine my like terms. Don't they all have W's? They all have W's. So I can add them together. It's on the other side though. So let's go through and add this together. Just take it one by one. What's W plus 3W? W plus 3W is 4W. Plus another W is going to be 5W. Plus 3 more is going to give me 8W. So write down 8W equals 96. And it's okay if you're a little confused with this one. This one's tricky. Don't panic, okay? I see the panic in your eyes, Alex. Don't panic. This one's tricky. And now we're going to divide. Divide that, and you should get 12. So that means your width is 12 feet. If my width is 12 feet, and I know my length is 3 times it, what do you think I could do to find my width or my length? 12 times 3, which is 36. Well, this is the first time you've probably looked at something like this, right? So it's going to be tricky right now. And there's none of these on your homework. I'm just introducing this to you for the first time because later on we do a little bit more of it. Okay, so I don't necessarily expect you to understand this one right away. Okay?